welcome back to Footy Nerds Round 5. It's been a great week. We've been here in Queensland. Well, Mitch is here with me still in Queensland. We had some special guests again yesterday, and I'm not going to give away who our special guest was, but he gave me this cup. I'm now a Broncos fan, and I dived into the minds of one of the greatest halves ever. But there's a little hint there. How's me mate going?
I'm very good, mate. You spoke about one half, but geez, we've had some bangers, and I love that word bangers. I've been using that only on these podcasts, but, mate, honestly, it's been a special few days. Firstly, to hang out with you and the family, but secondly, to get up close and personal with, I'll say, some old friends, because we've been around the traps for a fair while now. We've had good relationships with different players, but to speak at a deep level with these guys, I can't wait for it to get released, because a lot of the stuff that they've been saying from their own personal journeys and their outlooks it's some crazy stuff, huh?
Yeah, well, our word of the week this week was, or not word, but our motto of the week was, don't dip your toe in, go in head first. And I'll tell you what, we're two larrikins and two sort of great minds together. When we put them together, it turns into a little bit of chaos. And the last few weeks has been chaos, as we've mentioned. You go home to France on the 13th of this month, so we've jam-packed all these bangers into one room, which sounds weird, but it's been cool. Like you said, we started with a vision about 6s and 7s, and we've started that vision. We do our review and preview. We've got fans' questions, which we're going to dive into today, but we've now brought our special guests on top, because we want to give an insight to what it's like to be not just a half, but we've had the top of the tree so far, and it's been really cool. And one thing it shows me is that you've got to be a footy nerd. We've had 6 interviews now in a space of 3 days, and every one of them has mentioned that they're footy nerds and they love the footy nerds. They're asking us questions themselves about our journeys. So it's really cool, and we're also here for Reboot again. We touched it on Monday. We've got our presentation tonight at Mob with the sports programs they've got there, the futsal program, the basketball program, rugby league, talking about our journeys of Reboot, and it's all coming together. It's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's just to touch on those interviews again. It's so cool when you're a retired player and sort of been in these players' shoes, but when you retire, to go back into the mindset and that competitive curiosity of the top elite, high achieving halves or players in our game, it's really cool. And you take so many little golden eggs out of each one, and everyone's got such different personalities and different approaches. But I could do it all day, and it's been a good week of footy. But yeah, Reboot tonight. Looking forward to that as well. That's obviously a big passion of ours. Our little mate Philip's up here.
Hey, Philip.
The three of us in the Reboot business, for those listeners. And yeah, it's coming along nicely. Obviously, some good opportunities ahead for the year. But yeah, your old crew at Mob there, 80, is it 80 kids tonight?
Yeah, about 60 to 80 kids, which would be cool to dive into. We'll go back to our guests, because we had a Queensland legend yesterday, and we just got confirmation. Next Thursday, I'm back in Sydney. My missus is starting to worry if me and you got a little secret relationship going on. I'm spending some time in Sydney next week, and we've got two of the greatest New South Wales players to ever play next Thursday, maybe 3. But it's great. We're actually really diving into it, and it's cool. And we're doing this for our footy nerds, not just for us, but our footy nerds listeners. And before
we appreciate the call ups too, right? Like you're only as good as the person that writes back and is open to come on and chat, and
mutual respect.
So we, to be able to get every one of them, but especially one of the older guys that came on the show yesterday, meant a lot to us.
And then next week.
And next week.
I'm in awe, mate. Like, I've got my Broncos cup here. I'm hiding it now because next week I'm going to get a Raiders cup. But this is where we're here to talk about the round 5 that's coming us tomorrow night, Thursday night. It's our first cab off the rank. It's the Raiders at home against the Cronulla Sharks, and we had our question marks on the Sharks and how they're going to go. Travelling down to Canberra on a Thursday night. It'll be cold. Ricky will have the backs against the wall. He'll have a ambush mentality because they got beat last weekend. Where do you see this one going?
I'm going to go Canberra. I think Cronulla's in a really good spot, but there was a little bit of a weakness there last week. And I don't want to keep being negative, and we've given them plenty of compliments for the way that they've played over the last few years through the regular season and then obviously to start the season. But there's a couple of things last week where I just, when the momentum's not going for them, we saw a few things in their game that needs massive improvement, and the jury's still out a little bit in those key positions. As I said, I don't want to be too negative. It's early in the season and they're up the top of the ladder. But yeah, I can see Canberra ambushing them this week. And if Canberra can ambush the Sharks like the Dogs did last week, I see a victory for Canberra. I'm going to back Canberra. They're coming off 2 losses now. Or is it 3?
Canberra, 2 losses.
2 losses.
2 losses. 2 losses, 2 wins.
I still think there's a lot there at the moment in Canberra. There's some confidence there, even though they've dropped a couple. At home, you know, local kid up there, you know more than any of us what it's like playing at home up there, and the sale that they get behind them with the home ground advantage. So I'm going to Canberra. It's probably a bit of a smoky, but I'm going Canberra this week.
The Carney and Pearce jury's out in a few teams still, isn't it? Yeah, so the teams
don't trust our opinion.
Yeah, don't trust your opinion, but also be wary. And I'm going to bring it up because I probably went a little bit hard at Dylan Brown during the week on Monday, but we all want to touch on it, that we have an opinion. We don't attack players personally. We just try and give the fans what they want to hear and try and give an insight of how it was. I'm going to go for the Raiders because it's at home, Thursday night. They'll have a big crowd there. Purely Ricky will have them ready to go. I don't think they'll bounce. They will fail again. Sharks will come hungry. They'll want to win. I know Fitzy will have them ready to go. There's been a little bit of back and forth again about Nico. Buzz Rothfield keeps getting into him about it.
But he's pissed Buzz off, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, we speak about Buzz a little bit on here because we want to get Buzz on the chair with us at some point. Buzz is a mad Sharks fan. I know firsthand how Nico feels. He loves you when you get there. You play a couple of bad games, he'll jump on your back and ride you.
Yeah, there's the criticism's warranted. Not on this season. It's on the criticism from Buzz and probably what I just spoke about just then. And I'll stand by my word. It's over this 3-year sort of journey that Cronulla's been on, and that's sort of where Nico's at. And he's a great footballer.
100%.
Trindle's a great footballer. When they're on and they're on the front foot, from their outside backs to their halves, to the front row that they've got there, to their centres, Jesse Raymond and Iro, they're as good as anyone. How they handle pressure defence and when things aren't going well for them, the jury's still out. But you know what, Nico? Embrace it. Embrace Buzz's criticism. The ball's in your court as Cronulla players, and it's an exciting 6 weeks coming up.
It's funny you say when you talk about embracing things. I read a comment the other day, bagging me and you about that we had bad games and we're attacking these players.
Had heaps.
Had heaps. And this is the thing we're going to say. We've had heaps of bad games. The greatest players of our game have bad games and you get criticism put on them. But that's why there's space for us retired players or retired footy nerds to talk about. We're not attacking them personally. We're actually just giving our opinions on it. And that's what the beauty of this podcast is we're giving opinions and we dive into 6s and 7s because that's where we feel we can speak most about because we played in that position. We understand the difficulties of it, the highs and lows you have to face, and we're just trying to give an insight to our fans.
The best way to put criticism, Toddy, is constructive criticism.
That's right. And that's
it's
what
an honest analysis of something you see, good and bad. Just like people would be talking probably about our podcast. Piercy, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I sometimes think like that sitting across from you. But like I said, I'm going to go easy on you because you're in front of me and I watched you punch the bag yesterday. Not too bad.
Thanks, mate.
Not too bad. Well, our next game is one team that will want to bounce back after a couple of losses is the Penrith Panthers. They get their ever reliable superstar Nathan Cleary back. Do you know Nathan Cleary?
I've seen him lately.
I've seen him lately too. Yeah, well, they've got them Friday night up against the Cowboys, a team that's showed some promise the last few weeks. They had a win last weekend, their first win of the season. But I think it might be too much of a task going down to Combank Stadium against the Panthers on Friday night. Where do you see this playing out and who wins?
I'm going Penrith. You just spoke about Nathan coming back. We spoke about Penrith being a completely different side on paper last year. On reputation, people criticising him, going, it's not the Penrith of old. No doubt they played poorly, but you take out Dylan Edwards, Jerome Luai is obviously not coming back, and then Nathan Cleary. That's three of your premiership-winning spine not playing. They had some young kids that have come in that have done some good things. We only spoke about Jack Cole. Someone actually it's Jake or Jack, with all respect, because I saw a viewer or one of the punters.
I'll tell you, mate.
Writing in something last week that stopped getting the name wrong. So sorry, that's out of total respect to Jack or Jake. I'm sorry to get that wrong. So let's just clarify that. But Jack Cole.
Cole.
Mate, love watching you play, and as I just said, that was no disrespect.
We
said your name wrong the last.
He won't be disappointed
week.
just saying his name because you say it and always in good light. So
great light. He's
Jack
a great
would be
player.
loving it.
Great player. This game
Rightly deserved.
Game against Melbourne was huge. But yeah, last week they were definitely on the back end of a powerful South team and got blown off the park. Champions don't stay down too long, so I think and might have run into Nathan recently, and that Eye of the Tiger was beaming.
Eye of the Tiger, all right. No, I think I'm with you. I think the improvement of the Cowboys will give Penrith an arm wrestle. But I think the class of what they get back, they don't get Edwards back. They've still got Laurie at fullback. But with Nathan coming back into that team, him and Isaiah's connection through the middle, I think what I've seen from the early preseason games and the defense of the Cowboys, that the Panthers will be able to sort of work their way through that and get a win. Our second game on Friday night is the much anticipated, always ready to go, South Sydney Rabbitohs against the Sydney Roosters. Welcoming back Latrell Mitchell, their superstar. Not at fullback, in the centres. You like it?
I do like it, yeah. I think Jye Gray's been close to the best player in the comp at the moment, and we've touched on it a fair few times on 6 and 7s about what you lose with Latrell's presence and just out-and-out superstar touches, you gain in tenfold with effort and support and busyness in Jye Gray. And those traits have actually helped South win at the start of the year. They've had probably less personality there with Jye Gray. He doesn't bring as much attention to the field, but he's just got in, got dirty, and he's helped the players around him. So I like the idea of it. What do they say? Don't stuff up a winning formula, or there's a better saying than that, whatever it was. But it's working for them. They're on a nice little bit of momentum. They've come off a huge win last week. The master coach, Wayne Bennett, knows just let the wheels keep turning and put Latrell in the centres, let him find his groove.
Yeah.
He's got his mate there, Cody Walker, who's going to be looking for him at every chance.
Yeah.
You can imagine those two brothers talking during the week and finding ways to get Latrell involved.
He looks sharp, Latrell.
You know what I love about
Head-shaved.
Latrell? You saw that try last week with Xavier Bronson Cherry, sorry.
Yeah.
I was going to say Xavier Coates. Too many podcasts today.
Yeah.
Bronson Cherry coming back on those change of angles and scoring.
That's Latrell, isn't it?
That's Latrell this week.
Does he play left or right? Because Jack Whiten's the left side dominant player. He's got a left foot kick. Latrell's is exactly the same. We know what Jack Whiten's like. He's team first mentality. We switch over to the right. He's comfortable to play anywhere because he's played 5'8" also. Or does Latrell just jump into the right?
Either way, it's a deadly combination.
100%.
Latrell traditionally, when he's played centres left though, right? In big games in Origins and stuff. He's played
Origin left centre.
on that left. So, yeah, I can see him on out balls scoring tries, and I can see him on change of angles coming back through. It's a dangerous thought because without being negative on the Roosters, their edge defence has probably been their vulnerability. Like, they've had... We were critical of their halves last week, not getting them over the line. They had enough opportunity to win the game. But in all of these 4-5, what are we, round 4? Round 5. So out of the 4 games they've played, they've struggled defensively on
What
edges.
do Roosters need to do to win?
Well, they've got to defend better.
Yeah.
Just straight up. They've got to defend better, and they've got to stick the knife in the coffin.
Take risks?
I just think they've got to mount more pressure. They're creating some opportunities, but they're not capitalising on that. They're not mounting that pressure, which is a big load on Chad Townsend and Sandon Smith. I wouldn't say that their go forward's been an issue, especially the last couple of weeks. So they're in the fight. They've got to capitalise, but and too many errors for the Roosters footy. And then, as I said, they're leaking too many points. They're averaging over 24 points over the last few weeks. I know the comp's gone that way, but it's not. They need to tidy that up.
The good side I've seen this week was Latrell Mitchell on the highlights of him training, smiling, happy. That's a scary sign for the Roosters. Who wins and how? Sorry, who wins? We've just spoken now. The Bunnies?
I want to tip the Bunnies as much as it's hard working at the Chooks.
I'm with you, the Bunnies. So we've both sort of gone together when there's no sitting on the fence at the moment. But our next game is the Parramatta Eels up against the Dragons. And this was till only last week. These two teams hadn't registered a win. The Dragons found something and got a win last weekend. But those Eels, are they going to bounce back? Well, not bounce back. Are they going to register their first win of the year?
Like, once again, it's one of those things when you haven't won, you have to win sooner or later.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's leaning for me towards Parramatta. Dragons, I keep saying it, sleeping giants, fell short in a few games, but competed really well, saw plenty of improvement, especially on that left edge in attack with Gutho and Valentine Holmes. Young Flanagan's playing solid last week. They got the reward for that improvement that we've seen, and then I think they'll go another step forward again this week. I think they'll be too good for Para. The only thing that's given Para hope is that they haven't won a game, and you have to win sooner or later. I know it's harsh to say, but there's not much there's not much promise out of them until Mitch Moses comes back. I don't see where the improvement comes, Toddy.
Have you seen Mitch Moses lately?
Oh, he's another one I ran into at the coffee shop.
Far out. We ran in two superstars at the coffee shop last week. Would you believe it?
It's weird that they both just pop up.
I know. How good. They shouted us a coffee too.
Yeah, they did too.
Well, mutual
so
respect.
They should. They're on $1 million.
Yeah, well, I'm going to definitely go against you here because I put a firecracker up, Dylan Brown, which he probably wasn't even listening, but I feel he's got a big enough firecracker for this week. And I think the Parramatta Eels beat the Dragons this weekend.
Why?
I just, like you said, they need to win. They need to find a way to win. Rolsey keeps talking about he's being pretty calm and collected about it. They've got enough players to win. They've got some good players in that team, and they've got some really good players in that team. I think they're underachieving. And I feel if they can put it together for an 80-minute performance, blokes like Zach Lomax can rally the troops up like he did a few weeks ago. He'd done it on his own and nearly got a win. I think if he does it with a group of guys this weekend, I reckon they'll have their bats ready to go. They're playing at home, so I think it'll be a tough win, but I think the Eels get it home.
I'm going Dragons.
Okay, you would. Our next game on Saturday afternoon is the Titans up against the Dolphins, another Queensland derby. Dolphins are another team that hasn't registered a win. Titans got their their second win last weekend. They'll be without Keanu Kinney again.
Where'd you say this game was played, Toddy?
This is here in the Gold Coast.
In the Goldie.
Yeah, so Dolphins have got to travel down. They showed some glimpses of where they're at last week. They lose their captain in Tom Gilbert through suspension. But I'm going with the Titans again. I like what I see. Their forward pack, they're starting to warm into what we've been speaking about. So I think the Titans win. I think they win easy.
I'm going to go Dolphins, not just to be different. Yeah, I think Keeney out.
Why? How?
Well, Keeney out is, I think, a big out for them.
He was out last week.
Yeah, but I think Dolphins are going to man up this week. They haven't been great. They've been very stagnant in attack. Isaiah Katoa has really been the only shining light for them. We spoke about their heavy legs, and
Herbie Farnworth's been good.
He is one of my favourite players.
Yeah.
He's such a good centre, and it's harsh to say, but if he was an Aussie, as in Queensland or New South Wales, they're talking about him for rep footy.
Yeah.
He's obviously an Englishman and a proud Englishman and one of the great players and does his job for England. But in this Australian competition, you probably get more publicity being a State of Origin player.
Yeah.
That's the truth, because your name comes up around rep footy. For me, if he was an Origin eligible for New South Wales or Queensland, he'd be in the conversation. He's that good. Hammers looked a bit fatigued last few weeks. I just think that they're good enough players to find something, and I think this week they could find that. Titans have got that up and down performance in them. They have been good in the middle last couple of weeks, but it wasn't too long ago that they find ways to throw the towel. That's the wrong thing to say. I've got to watch my words here. They find ways to not come up with their best performance defensively sometimes and look a little bit erratic. So I'm backing the Dolphins because they need to win. We said this last week, but come on,
backs against
Dolphins.
the wall.
Come on,
Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Well, I've gone one team backs against the wall, the Eels. You've gone the Dolphins. Our next game on Saturday night, our last game for Saturday night, is the Brisbane Broncos up against the West Tigers, minus Jerome Luai. He's out this weekend. So it will be a good look at Latrell Fanu. Will come into the 7 jumper. 2 young kids, him and Lockie Galvin in the halves. I just think it'll be too much, and the bookies are saying it's too much. West Tigers are $6 and the Broncos are $1.14. How do you see this playing out, and what excites you about this game?
Latu played last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
I remember him playing a little Benji step, played a nice little double pump.
Plays very direct.
Really crafty little player. Jerome out, Broncos. I think Broncos with Jerome playing and Tigers, both teams fully fit. I'm going Broncos all day here.
Yeah.
But with Jerome out, it's a big hole. I'm looking forward to seeing how Galvin owns it.
Yeah.
Without Jerome there, it's a big ask against a huge pack of the Broncos for any young half. But I like this. He's obviously got big raps, and we talk about Galvin, but he'll relish in this, I reckon.
100% he will.
One thing he does, he'll go down swinging.
Yeah, he's a young kid. He's confident. There's talk this week that he's about to sign the Tigers have offered him a 5-year, $5 million contract. I think it's good. I think they need to do it to keep him. We don't want to see him leave. I'm sure there'll be some clubs out there looking at their checkbooks to see what they can offer him. But I love watching the Broncos at the moment purely just because of Payne Haas. Like, he's going to do something this weekend that's going to go well. He's going to be up a tough against Fanua Bowl and Terrell May. That will be a big challenge. Carrigan, Haas against those two. I'm looking forward also to seeing how we spoke about Reece Walsh on Monday about he played within himself and really got back to the nitty-gritty stuff. I'd like to see him do it again, but also give us that little bit of Reece Walsh brilliance, just so we can we know it's still there. We spoke to a special guest again the other day. I won't say a name.
Where'd you run into him?
At a coffee shop. We asked about Reece Walsh.
You love coffee.
Yeah, I know. About 10 a day.
So will you just bounce around, just have coffees at random places and run into NRL players?
Well, I'm an NRL groupie. I chase them around. I follow them. I've got them on tracker.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it's just a coincidence. They're all halves. They wear 6s or 7s.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And I force them to sit down and have a coffee with me.
Good week for a groupie that you've run into 3 of them. But I think, mate, I'm the same as you. Broncos are great. Payne Haas, Adam Reynolds, as you said, Walshy. Walshy's the magical thing about Walshy is that he started the season a little bit slow, but his potential is above everyone else, and that would be such a satisfying thing for Madge and senior players in that group, knowing that we're getting our wins, but our little master, our little superstar hasn't even hit his straps yet. And I think when he does, Benny Hunt and Adam Reynolds start to click, we're going to see a little tidal wave of the Broncos for about a 10-week period, and that's how I see it.
Did it surprise you at coffee the other day that they said he's a footy nerd?
I've heard that from a few people.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Really respects the older history of the game. Studies his game, really hard on himself after losses. But you see that. That's why he's such a talented player at such a young age. Yeah,
so we're both going for the Broncos there. There's no fence sitting. Broncos all the way. And Manly fans will be happy this Sunday afternoon back at 4 Pines Park up against the Melbourne Storm. I don't know if they'll be happy about who they're playing, that's all. But 4 Pines Park has been a graveyard for them. They always seem to win. The teams that come there, they just find it difficult. And it's going to be a tough afternoon for the Manly Seagulls, I think.
Melbourne Turbo
out. Obviously, Jerome Hughes is still out for the Melbourne Storm, but I just feel not sure what the weather's like in Sydney this weekend, but I think Melbourne come there with a vengeance. Obviously, we speak about that Melbourne-Manly clash. We talk about the former greats. Adam Blair up against Glenn Shute on the sideline punching on. That's always talk about this week, so there's always a bit of fire in the belly. Where do you see it going, and what's your thoughts on how it plays out?
Yeah, I think Melbourne in this one, they don't seem to lose 2 in a row too often. Jerome Hughes out was a big out for him last week. Love Wishart. I think the conditions last week didn't sort of suit Melbourne as much. Obviously, wet, dogged type of game, very stop-start, especially when you've got a guy like Wishart there who's more of a runner. It wasn't probably the ideal conditions, and Dragons played really well, but as good as Manly are on the front foot at Four Pines Park, they've definitely got that underbelly of potentially leaking points, and they can struggle against when momentum's not going for them. And Melbourne's the best at creating momentum. With Jerome on the field, they're no doubt the best team in the competition at playing advantage line footy. So, yeah, I can see, I'm back in Melbourne this game. But I'll tell you what, in just talking about ad-line footy and both halves, we spoke about the two best sides, from my opinion, at playing off the cuff and that ruck recognition. Well, it's Melbourne and Manly. So hopefully a few quick play the balls this week, and it's going to be an entertaining game.
It will be an entertaining game, and I'm going to stick with you. I think Melbourne Storm will win. I don't think that Hughes being out would be too much of an issue for the Storm. I think Munster will be on. He loves getting down there in the sun and in Manly on a Sunday afternoon.
I'll tell you what, they've had some home games, Manly.
Yeah, well,
to start the year.
They must be listening to them. Give them every game and they'll win the comp.
Because there's at least 3 that we've covered that they've played at Four Pines Park.
4 Pines, yeah. So they've had 3 out of the first 5.
Which is, what goes up must come down. There's going to be a few away ones soon.
There's going to be a few away ones coming, but let's hope they get enough wins to find their way in there. And a team that hasn't had enough wins this year is the Bulldogs up against the Newcastle Knights. Dogs are going for 5 straight. Sunday afternoon at Accor Stadium, the Bulldogs up against the Knights. Where do you see it? Knights coming off a bye. Will be fresh. Dogs worked hard last week to beat the Sharks. Still Matt Burton and Kiko out. How do you see it playing out? Do you like the Knights? Or do you think did you see enough from the Dogs again last week? We spoke about them on the couch the other day, about they just make teams work for their points. We speak about Newcastle's halves, Fletcher Sharp and Cogger. Obviously KP at the back is a class above, but where does the points come from for the Knights for a defensive team like the Dogs that are going to make those two halves work for their points?
It's like a broken record talking about Newcastle, but the points come from Kalen Ponga.
Yeah.
Fletcher Sharp, 100%. He's been huge. He's going to play his part there, but the points come from Kalen Ponga. And I think we saw it last week against Cronulla. This is what the great defensive teams do, and it's probably not too early to say that Bulldogs are becoming a great defensive team. They showed this last year, even though they didn't win the comp. Throughout the year, they were one of the best defensive teams, becoming a consistently great defensive team. And then this year, they've just 5 in a row and all been built off pressure defence. So, and we've seen what that does to the best of attack. It puts pressure on the key players, and you have to come up with different options. And then that causes errors and then early kicks, and it has a snowball effect. So Kalen Ponga is going to be under the pump this week. He's going to have to come up with plenty of points for his team, but mate, they'll be going after KP. And as you just said, who steps up? Well, it's going to have to be Jack Cogger and Fletcher Sharp off the back of that. I think the Dogs for sure this week. Haywood last week and Sexton did a great job. They play a different style than when Birdo's there. They obviously lose the length of the kicking game, but they had a really good little combination. I'll tell you what, it's great just watching 2 little footy head halves.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that they're probably the most athletic looking superstar halves.
Yeah.
They probably admit that themselves. But little Haywood, I love him. He's just a little footy head. You can tell he's watching every single game every week. Just a crafty little player. Squeezes the lemon for the size of him. Great little running game. And Sexton's getting better and better every week. They got their coach there. I talk about him a lot because he had a good influence on me. Jason Taylor. He was the same. He was a little half himself. Absolute footy head, chirping his team around the park in the 90s, 2000s for North Sydney Bears. You can see his effect on him because I had a big effect from Jason Taylor. He taught me a lot, and their attack's got to another level, and I'm sure Serraldo's a big part of that, and their senior players. But my little mate JT deserves a compliment.
Well, the way they're playing is very similar to the way JT is. Well, it's definitely Sexton getting around the park, guiding blokes inside, outside of him. He's got his option always to kick. He's not scared to kick. He finds space every time he kicks short. You spoke about the long kicking game. They lose that when Burton's there, but they're just doing a good job because they make teams work for points. They don't give teams any cheap points, but they also play in their system. Their back rows are playing unbelievable at the moment. We spoke about Preston during the week.
Preston's an Australian player.
Oh, yeah, and they love him.
Soon. He could be a smoky for Origin this year if something.
Left side Preston, right side Liam Martin.
You're picking him to start.
Oh, well, he'll be putting his hand up. Well, if we go on form for Origin, where they usually say they pick on form, he's picked on form because who's our other back rower? Crichton.
We got Crichton.
Crichton at the Chooks.
Who'd be Martin, like you just said.
Martin will be one. Martin will be right side.
Yeah. Well, you see, Press. He's got that. He just looks. He's got the Boyd Cordner, Josh Jackson.
Yeah.
That type of just. Country
And he
boy.
pushes on every play. We talk
Country boy? He looks like one.
He looks like one. He looks like, yeah. He
Goulburn
pushes on every. He's from Goulburn. He pushes on every play. We talk about Gus, the great Gus Gould talks about Origin. It's about one in the small moments. It's about pushing on every play, being in every involvement, and that's what he does.
Yeah.
Like he's been a compliment for them in the edge of
He's
them.
been carrying bulls his whole life.
Balls on his shoulder, just squatting them. Just,
Probably from Manly or something. But we're just like that country boy.
why are you saying he's a country boy?
He just looks like one. You know, like I'm probably just going off the players we've played with. Your Ben Kennedys, Steve Simpsons, or against them, Boyd Cordners, those tough white country back rowers. Angus Crichton.
How hard is it wrestling Boyd? It's
Oh.
yuck.
How good's not having to wrestle anyone anymore? Mate,
I
you
wrestled
imagine that
you-
crew: Boyd, Jared Hargraves, Sam Mower squeezing your head in wrestle. No wonder I was at the coffee shop with your friends. No,
Yeah.
that was sick day. The rest of the
Talking
day.
about coffee shops, we've had a few coffees this week with some legends, and next week it's going to be no different. And we might have let a name slip there along the way. We said a fair few names in, so you take your pick and think who it is. That part of our segment for today is gone, and I know all our little listeners and nerds are waiting for this. It's our fans' questions of the week. And I'm going to rattle a few off. I want you to answer them for me, Mitch. I'll answer a couple of them. Could Samoa become a truly dominant nation if Payne Haas switches over? There are talks Samoa should elevate it to Tier 1 status, which would rule these players out of Origin. Charlie M.
There's no doubt that'd be better if Payne Haas plays. Anyone would be better if Payne Haas plays. But I love this whole idea of the Samoans and Tongans wanting to play for their own country. Like, I just love the whole idea of the game keep growing, and that's not one bit. I'm an out and out Aussie, and when you're loyal to your country, but I love seeing other teams do well. I genuinely do. I might get criticism for that. They go, people can be quite patriotic, but whoever's the best will win. And if those guys are more loyal to where they're from, which if I was Islander, I'm sure I'd want to play for my own country.
Yeah.
If that's going to make them better, it makes the game better. And that's it.
Passionate New South Wales fan, played for New South Wales. If Tonga or Samoa becomes a Tier 1 nation, they're not allowed to play for Origin.
That's a different story.
Where's that sit? Because then that means we don't see Payne Haas in Origin.
Well, that's the.
Or if he's going to defect to his allegiance there, do it after Origin.
I look at it two ways. You can't stop someone who if they're going to go back to their origins of where they're from, they're eventually going to. I want to see a competition. Take the Origin hat off. I want to see a competition where people are playing for who they truly want to play for.
That's right.
Because the spectacle's better and the actual standard of footy's better.
We speak about it this week. We spoke about it on Monday. Andrew Fafita, proud Tongan, loves what he's done for the Tongan community by going to play for Tonga. Like, for players like that to come out and publicly say what it means to them, no wonder these players want to go do it because they want to experience what it feels like. And I believe we should let them. We speak about the Indigenous All-Stars, Indigenous Maoris game at the start of the year, what it means to them. So if they can do that on the biggest stage at the end of the year, playing against Australia, I think let him go do it. And the answer to the question is, of course, they're going to be better if Payne Haas plays for them.
Of course.
Do they beat Australia?
Not now, but in the next few years, with the amount of Islander boys coming through,
Yeah.
and they keep choosing to go back to where they're from and play for their country, we could see some change in the next couple of years.
Our next question is from Josh. Thoughts on Lockie Galvin's rumoured $5 million 5-year deal? Do you think he'll stay at the Tigers?
I don't know the kid, and the way the game's changing now, players, there's two options. Someone's got some loyalty to where they're from and they want to stick it out, or they go and chase the money. And either or is a personal decision. We've seen the thing going on with Cherry Evans. We don't know the truth, but it's been perceived that it's a money decision. He's going to look after his family. Other people are saying, he should be loyal to one club. It's purely a individual decision.
Yeah.
From a performance point of view, it's also a hard one. Like, as in, what's going to be the best development for him? The Tigers are on the way up. He's starting to get a good team around him. If I was him, unless I was going to a top 4 side, I'd stay at the Tigers.
Yeah, well, Josh, I'm going to be the bearer of bad news here. I think if Lockie Galvin's manager has said that he's going to come out at November 1 and test the market, it means that he's leaning towards moving.
Not necessarily. It could be just bumping up his Tigers price.
Well, it's my opinion. Let me answer my
I'm
question.
just giving you another narrative.
I tried to get serious and I just looked at your head, your pea head pop over the top. No, I think he stays at the Tigers. I'll let you slide, Josh, because Miss you scared me. But I think it's a good deal for him. Where the game's going, the cap, I think it's probably a great price for Lockie. And I agree with you. The Tigers are on the up. The next question is from Levi. What can we expect to see from South this weekend with Latrell in the centres? Will he take pressure off the halves, and if so, how?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a big performance from Latrell in the centres. I think as long as he goes looking for the ball and doesn't just camp himself out there and be a sleeping giant, I think we could see a really good balanced performance. We spoke about it earlier in the show. I think Jye Gray is finding his own little niche there, and the halves are relishing off his involvement and don't change a winning formula. So if Latrell can execute when he does get the ball, which we know he will, and then go looking for opportunities around lazy defenders, coming off his edge and sniffing around his ball players around the ruck with the size of him, it could be a masterstroke from Wayne Bennett and something that they stick at. Yeah,
I agree with what Mitch is saying. It definitely takes the pressure off the halves. What it'll do for the halves, it'll give him an option to run because he'll have bodies in front of him. They'll have to put bodies in front of Latrell to stop him. So he'll change that up for him. Cody Walker will relish on it. I think Latrell's in for a big game. Hopefully he's injury-free the rest of the year. And we talk about Origin. If Latrell's in the centres, I think they pick him for Origin this year in the centres also.
Who was the centres last year for Origin?
The final game was Bradman Best and I'm not too sure. No, Stephen Crichton. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the high tackle crackdown and rule changes over sin bins?
Go into a bit of detail about examples, Toddy. We had the one last week at the Tigers game, wasn't it?
Well, it's been cracking down for a while, and it's an easy one to answer, and it's not really a 6s and 7s question, but it's one of those things that they've got to crack down. The way the game's changing with head knocks and stuff like that, I think it's the crackdown's needed because they want to outlaw it out of the game. They want their players protected. They want us to have a clean game. They want the big game to be fast. Sometimes a high tackle is careless and it's unwarranted because you're just tired and you're in the moment. I don't think anyone goes out anymore to take someone's head off. Like back in the old days, we spoke to an old legend at coffee the other day about the old days and what it was like for halves getting hit over the head and shit. So it's definitely. I know it's frustrating for fans when they see their players get sin bin for a high shot, but it is what it is. That's the rules these days.
Yeah, well, there's just so much protection around the concussions and stuff like that. There was one late in the game on the weekend. I think it was the Tigers game where they ended up going for the 2 points. It's one of those tackles, when it's the intention is you sort of hit around the shoulder and then they bump up off momentum. Let those ones go for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's part of the tackle. Like, yeah, you might have ricocheted his head after you've hit his shoulder. But for me, they penalise these ones a lot these days. And for me, that's not a high tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's head contact. Doesn't look good. But that's not a high tackle.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. But the out-and-out ones around the head, send them off.
I've got sort of two questions very similar here. So I've got Hunter S. and Corey. Thoughts on Reed Mahoney's grubby actions against the Sharks over the weekend? Should he have been penalised further? And the next one is, what are the pros and cons of having a grubby player, for example, Reed Mahoney, on your team?
Well, you go back to Mick Ennis.
Yeah.
Did you play with Mick Ennis?
No, I played against Mick.
Yeah. So Mick Ennis was such a hard player to play against.
Yeah.
And you spoke about the old days of the fear in the game as a half. If you knew that Gordon Tallis could fucking rip your head off, I'm telling you now, it changes the way how deep you go into the line.
Correct.
And you're kicking execution because you got fear. Nowadays, that's long gone to an extent. So, playing against Mick Ennis, like he
gets
hard.
under your skin.
Mate, he got under my skin a few times.
Like
he got under my skin a few times, and it throws you off. So there's a massive benefit in as long as they don't become ill-disciplined for their team. And
which
give away,
Reed did on the weekend. He was ill-disciplined.
Mick Ennis was cunning.
Probably took it a little bit too far, Hunter, and that's what you're asking. I think he's penalised efficient. It's one of those things. As we just said, he's a grubby player. He's probably been taught off Mick Ennis, a former Bulldogs player. But I think it's good for the game. Like going into before the game, Sharks will be going, "Oh, make sure Reed Mahoney doesn't get under his skin because he's grubby and things like that." So you're thinking about it all the time. So it's actually an attribute for him to have. Like it's actually part of. They talk about the game. Joey talks about the incident the week before about Curran. Sort of, it's about the play. It's about manipulating, winning games, and if that's what he does to put teams and players off, I'm happy for it.
You know what? It's like we speak about those alpha male front rowers, Sam Burgess, Jared, that take full ownership. It's so fucking hard to do.
Yeah.
To take it personal to the opposition week in, week out. To be a Mick Ennis's and
well, he owns it. His interview after the game, he owned it.
So if you're going into the sheds in their shoes and you go, fuck, I'm a bit sore today, you ain't got an excuse. It's your job to put your balls on the line, to get dirty. Like, that takes a lot of effort. So my hat's off to these players. You got to be a tough character to play like that every week.
Joshy Reynolds was good at that. And I sort of didn't know him off the field, obviously just playing against him, battling in the halves. And then you meet him off the field. You sometimes wish they were still dickheads because they're actually
you want to hate them.
Yeah, you want to hate them, but they were great blokes. Me and Joshy Reynolds had a great time in Bali. I'll get him on the potty one day because he's a great 6s and 7. I'll have coffee with him anyway. Just another... I haven't had a coffee with Josh, so I haven't got him on yet, but he will be on the list. Advice for someone just getting into coaching, what to focus on and what course to take, etc. Chris Wayne. Bruce Wayne's brother.
Bruce Wayne's
Batman.
Well, you're in the space. I haven't got a coach's degree as such. I do a bit of stuff with the junior kids and... Toddy, you might know a bit more. You're in that space.
Well, advice for Chris, I think if you're interested in coaching and you've got to have a love of the game, but we know that you don't have to. If you're a volunteer coach and you want to coach kids, I think it's important to understand what you're coaching them. If you're watching TV on a Sunday afternoon and watching your favourite team play, and then you turn up to the Oval on Tuesday and try and coach them the way your favourite team plays, you're going about it wrong. I think you need to teach the kids to have fun. You need to teach them the basics, the fundamentals of rugby league, and what rugby league brought up on is tackling really well and catching the ball and passing. And if teaching halves, you teach them how to kick and pass really well. I think if you try and teach block plays and set up plays and try and reinvent the wheel, all it does, because if you don't understand rugby league and try and reinvent the wheel, it makes your head dizzy and spin. And for the kids, it makes it not a happy place. The kids need to have fun. They need to start with a smile and finish with a smile. If you're not getting that for your kids, you're not doing it right. And there's plenty of courses to take. Obviously, the NRL runs coaches certificate courses, which will teach them. But jump on the computer, Google it about some really good fun drills for kids. But like I said, the most important thing for rugby league, and I know I started playing rugby league as a young kid because I loved the game and it was fun. Don't take the fun away from our kids.
Genuine care too, Toddy?
That's it. Genuine care.
You think about your young junior coaches.
Don't coach for a result. Coach for improvement.
You think about your junior coaches, those ones that you knew you just wanted to play for because they cared. You know, it might have been tough love sometimes, but
my dad had tough love for me.
Yeah, but that genuine care is so important at that age.
It. Yeah. Make sure they have fun. Chris Wayne's back. Great review on the pyramids. What's your thoughts on the rumoured Antarctica pyramids?
You can't pull this out without a bit of homework.
Yeah, well,
give me another week.
Oh, Philip, you're laughing over there, and you're the brains of this reboot we've got. What's the
Philip? Come on in now. We're going to get a special guest on.
Jump in behind Mitch here and give us your thoughts on the Antarctica pyramids.
They're real, and the aliens built them.
Wow!
And why?
I don't know why.
Bro, in here.
In here, get in here.
I'm not too sure why, but I mean, we'll see. I mean, the ice caps are melting. We'll find out eventually.
Very good.
As retired rat bags yourselves, speak for yourself. What advice would you give young players coming through the NRL? I'm sure coming into money and fame at a young age would be difficult to manage. Well, understand why you played the game from the start. We don't play for money. We don't play for fame. We play for the love of the game. Yes, those things give you a different view of it when you get there and you make it, but also understand, and as you said, us retired rat bags, take a leaf out of our book and understand that the game can be taken away from you so long. So appreciate it while you've got it. Give it your all, work hard and continue the same way you got there. You've got to continue that work ethic and still love the game and work hard at it. Don't give up on it.
Yeah, you totally just nailed it. Everything's got to come off the back of hard work. And probably the biggest lesson I've learned through my career, but then speaking to certain people after my career and athletes still involved, is curiosity. Stay curious, learn your craft, love your craft. You know, we might have made some mistakes in our life and gone off the rails at different points due to alcohol. But over that 20 years, more than anything, there was an obsession to get better, an obsession to be the best version of yourself and to learn as much as you can. And that's the way to have longevity in anything I think you attack in life, football, business, any field of
continue
life.
to ask questions, continue to get better and want to get better. I think it's for me is those things will take care of themselves if you keep in check of yourself and you continue to want that for the love of the game. Our last question from our footy nerds is, can the recent performance from Jye Gray spark the return of smaller players in the NRL, or do you think it's on the outer?
No, I think there's always a place for smaller players. If you're going to be smaller, though, you've got to be super tough. You've got to be smart how you use your body, and you've got to be you got to have speed.
Yeah, and that's what Jye Gray's got. Obviously, the smaller guys always have seemed to got speed. Obviously, we've spoken about it. He's probably the informed player in the competition at the moment. I don't think small players, big players will ever be on the outer. It's about how you adapt, and Jye Gray's got a really good balance at the moment. He goes at everything. He'll find it difficult in some parts when he comes up against teams that sort of target him and work out how he plays at fullback. They might try and stand him, put him box kicks into corner, but you're never going to be pushed out of the game if you're small or big. It's just about the game and how much you want it. And at the moment, Jye Gray's showing how much he wants it by his performances week in, week out.
If you're small, though, you've got to learn how to tackle. Obviously, Jye's a fullback. But if there's any advice you can give to a young coach or a young player, if you're smaller body, you've got to learn how to tackle.
Someone at coffee the other day mentioned that.
Which one was that?
They've had too many. Have had too many bangers to even think about it.
Which one was that you were lurking around?
Yeah.
Which ice bath were you lurking around?
He plays for the Broncos.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there for another date. Just keep viewing. Keep listening to our footy nerds. That's another week wrapped up. Enjoy round 5. I hope your team wins, and we'll see you all next week. Love yous all, footy nerds.
Love yous.